Final Destination 1. The story begins with Alex Browning, a high school student preparing to board Volley Air Flight 180 to Paris for a senior class trip. While sitting on the plane waiting for takeoff, Alex experiences an incredibly vivid and terrifying premonition. He sees the cabin lights flicker, the fuselage tear open mid-air, and the entire plane explode in a massive fireball, killing everyone on board. Waking up from this nightmare in a state of pure panic, Alex realizes the early signs of his vision, the cabin tremors, the seatbelt signs, are happening in real life. He begins screaming that the plane is going to explode, causing a chaotic commotion that gets him thrown off the aircraft. 6 of his classmates and teachers are forced off with him: his best friend Todd, clear-headed classmate Clear Rivers, hot-tempered Carter Horton, Carter's girlfriend Terry Cheney, quirky Billy Hitchcock, and their teacher, Ms. Liu Tun. As they argue inside the airport terminal, they watch in horror through the glass window as Flight 180 takes off and explodes in mid-air, leaving no survivors. While initially viewed as miracles, the survivors soon find themselves enveloped in paranoia and grief. Weeks later, the atmosphere shifts from tragic relief to terrifying dread. Alex begins to notice strange signs and clues left by an invisible force, hinting that death isn't finished with them. The first to fall is Todd. While in his bathroom, a freak leak from the toilet causes a pool of chemical-laden water to slick the floor. Todd slips, falls over the bathtub, and becomes entangled in a wire clothesline. As he chokes, the water miraculously drains away, leaving no evidence, and his death is ruled a suicide. Alex, however, realizes the terrifying truth: by getting off the plane, they cheated death's design, and now death is returning to claim them in the exact order they were originally meant to die on the aircraft. Alex and Clear sneak into the morgue to examine Todd's body, where they encounter William Bloodworth, a mysterious mortician who confirms Alex's fears. Bloodworth explains that death has a flawless, calculated plan, and because they ruined that plan, the forces of the universe are aggressively correcting the timeline. The survivors gather in a coffee shop to discuss Alex's theory, but Carter refuses to believe it. In the middle of an angry outburst, Terry steps off the curb to leave and is instantaneously pulverized by a speeding city bus in a shocking freak accident. Next on death's list is Ms. Liu Tun. While at home, a sequence of highly improbable events occurs. Her mug cracks from hot vodka, dripping alcohol into her computer monitor, which explodes and shatters glass into her neck. As her house catches fire, she reaches for a kitchen knife, but an explosion causes a chair to fall, driving the blade deep into her chest. Alex arrives just in time to try and save her, but the house blows up, and he is framed as a prime suspect by the FBI. With the authorities hunting him, Alex goes into hiding in a remote cabin, frantically analyzing the seating chart of Flight 180 to figure out who is next. He deduces that Carter is the next target, followed by Billy, Clear, and finally himself. Alex rushes to find them. When he tracks them down, an unhinged Carter, devastated by Terry's death, parks his car on a railroad track, waiting for an oncoming train to take his life on his own term. At the last second, Carter changes his mind but finds himself trapped as the car doors lock. Alex dives in and pulls Carter out of the vehicle just a second before the train smashes it into pieces. Because Alex saved Carter, Death's grand design is forced to skip Carter and move to the next person in line. Instantly, a piece of flying metal shrapnel from the car wreckage hurls through the air and completely decapitates Billy, who was standing nearby. Alex realizes that if you successfully save the person currently in Death's crosshairs, the invisible assassin skips them and moves down the list. Realizing that Clear is next, Alex sprints to her house while surviving his own harrowing environment as storms knock down power lines. He finds Clear trapped inside her car, surrounded by live, snapping electrical wires and a leaking fuel tank. As the car catches fire, Alex uses his bare hands to grab the high-voltage wire, taking the electrical shock to allow Clear to escape the vehicle right before it explodes. 6 months later, Alex, Clear, and Carter travel to Paris to celebrate their survival, believing they have permanently beaten the system. However, during dinner, Alex realizes a terrifying flaw in his logic. Death skipped him because he held the wire, meaning the original loop has reset, and Carter is now at the top of the list. Suddenly, a freak accident causes a massive neon sign to break loose. It swings directly toward Alex. Carter leaps into action and pushes Alex out of the way at the last second, saving his life. Alex looks up in horror as Carter asks, "Who's next?" Right before the heavy sign swings back around toward Carter, cutting to black just as it strikes him, proving that Death's design can never truly be outrun. Final Destination 2. The terror returns 1 year after the explosion of Flight 180, focusing on a college student named Kimberly Corman. While driving with her friends to Daytona Beach for spring break, Kimberly stops at the highway entrance ramp of Route 23. Suddenly, she experiences a horrifyingly vivid premonition of a catastrophic pileup. She sees a logging truck's chain snap, sending massive, heavy logs crashing into the highway, crushing vehicles, causing fiery explosions, and brutally killing dozens of commuters, including her friends and herself. Snapping out of the vision in a state of sheer panic, Kimberly drives her SUV across the ramp, blocking the traffic behind her to prevent them from entering the highway. Among the angry drivers stuck behind her are Thomas Burke, a state trooper, Eugene Dix, a school teacher, Rory Peters, a drug addict, Kat Jennings, a cynical businesswoman, Nora Carpenter and her 15-year-old son Tim, and Evan Lewis, a lottery winner. Moments later, the logging truck passes, its chain snap exactly as Kimberly foresaw, and the devastating pileup occurs right before their eyes, killing Kimberly's friends who were still inside her car. While grateful to be alive, the survivors quickly realized that escaping the highway was only a temporary reprieve. Within days, the invisible hand of death returns to correct the timeline, targeting the survivors in the reverse order of how they died in Kimberly's premonition. The first to fall is Evan Lewis. After winning the lottery, he returns to his apartment, where a series of bizarre accidents traps his hand in the kitchen sink disposal while a fire breaks out. He manages to escape the burning apartment via the fire escape, only to slip on leftover spaghetti, fall to the ground, and be instantly impaled through the eye by the falling ladder. Realizing the pattern, Kimberly seeks out the help of Clear Rivers, the sole remaining survivor of Flight 180 who has locked herself inside a padded room in a psychiatric hospital to hide from death. Clear initially refuses to help, but eventually agrees to guide them, warning them that Death is a meticulous accountant who will not stop until the debt is paid. The survivors gather for protection, but Death strikes with brutal efficiency. Next on the list are Nora and Tim. After a dental appointment where Tim narrowly avoids suffocating on a plastic toy, he walks out into the parking lot and is instantaneously crushed flat by a massive, falling pane of glass dropped by construction workers. Soon after, a grieving Nora is trapped in a hospital elevator when her hair and clothes get caught on a prosthetic hook carried by another passenger. The elevator doors malfunction and close on her neck, decapitating her as it moves. Desperate for answers, Kimberly, Thomas, and Clear consult the mysterious mortician, William Bloodworth. He provides them with a cryptic clue to beating the system. Only a new life can defeat death. They interpret this to mean that if Isabella Hudson, a pregnant woman who was also stuck at the highway ramp, gives birth, the newly created life will disrupt the cosmic design and save them all. The remaining survivors push forward to find Isabella, but their vehicle suffers a freak tire blowout, causing them to crash into a farm field. Kat Jennings becomes pinned in her seat by a log. When rescue workers use the jaws of life to free her, the sudden vibrations trigger the vehicle's airbag to deploy, shoving her head backward directly into a sharp pipe protruding through the headrest. As she dies, her foot hits the accelerator, causing a nearby news van to spark and blow up, sending a heavy barbed wire fence flying through the air, which slices Rory Peters into 3 clean pieces. Meanwhile, Eugene Dix is hospitalized from injuries sustained in the crash. Kimberly, Thomas, and Clear rush to the hospital after hearing that Isabella has gone into labor. Isabella safely delivers the baby, and the group celebrates, believing they have finally broken the curse. However, Kimberly has another sudden premonition. She realizes that Isabella was never meant to die in the original highway crash anyway, meaning her baby's birth did not count as a new life. Suddenly, Eugene's hospital room suffers an oxygen leak, and a spark from a machine triggers a massive explosion. The blast instantly kills Eugene and blows open the door, incinerating Clear Rivers, who was standing in the hallway. With almost everyone dead, Kimberly realizes the true meaning of Bloodworth's riddle, that new life had to be her own. She must die and be brought back to life to completely reset the design. Kimberly drives a state trooper vehicle into a nearby lake, intentionally drowning herself. Her spirit leaves her body as her timer hits 0, effectively breaking Death's original contract. Trooper Thomas Burke dives into the water, pulls her subconscious body out, and rushes her to the hospital room where medical staff use a defibrillator to successfully resuscitate her. By dying and being reborn, Kimberly successfully cheats the design, saving both herself and Thomas. Months later, Kimberly and Thomas share a celebratory barbecue with the family of a farmer who helped them during the farm crash. While discussing their survival, the farmer mentions that his son was almost hit by the exploding news van months ago, but Rory Peters had knocked him out of the way at the last second. Thomas and Kimberly freeze as they realize Rory's intervention altered the boy's destiny, placing him squarely on death's new list. Before they can even warn him, the son walks over to the malfunctioning outdoor gas grill, which instantly explodes, blowing him to pieces and leaving a single charred arm to land right in front of them, proving that death's design always finds a way to finish what it started.